As you may have heard, the Army today opening the doors to Bradley Manning's new digs. Reporters allowed to visit the accused WikiLeaker's new home at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas. However, no pictures or video were allowed. We have just learned that Manning will be there beginning tomorrow. This while he awaits trial on nearly 24 charges, including aiding the enemy. The PR offensive, of course, in response to allegations of mistreatment at Quantico in Virginia. At the very least, total deviation from the Uniform Code of Military Justice. At the very worst, torture on par with the treatment of the American Gulag in Guantanamo. Either way, Manning supporters claim that they will keep a close eye on the case until they are sure he is being treated properly. Manning also may be the focus of a grand jury investigation that includes the man at the center of the WikiLeaks scandal, Julian Assange, that for violations of the Espionage Act. Joining us here in New York, Salon.com's Glenn Greenwald, who has been among the most aggressive and accurate reporters on all of these developments. It's a pleasure to have you back in the room. First, broadly, how do you interpret the move?
Clearly, it was designed as a reaction to the growing scandal over his mistreatment. Amnesty International had condemned it and urged protests. The UN CHOP torture official was formally investigating it. And of course, the State Department spokesman was forced to resign after he condemned it as stupid and a variety of other negative adjectives. So it was a real growing scandal for a president who ran on a platform of ending detainee abuse to have this festering scandal continuing to grow.
At the same time, there is a Uniform Code of Military Justice. One of the statutes in it says that the individual should be held up to and only up to the point necessary for their security. It was clear that had been exceeded here. Is there any reason to think that the actual treatment of Bradley Manning at a different prison, in this case Fort Leavenworth, will be different?
Well, you're right. The Uniform Code of Military Justice in Article 13 makes it a criminal offense to punish a detainee using pretrial conditions. Clearly, many of the things that were done to Manning were punitive. Government officials said so to NBC News and to other media outlets. So the question now becomes, what will his treatment be in Fort Leavenworth? The justification for defenders of the administration for why he was kept in 23-hour-a-day solitary confinement, not even allowed to exercise in his cell, was that this was for his own protection, that if you let him out into a population of Marines, that he would be attacked perhaps lethally. And yet suddenly we hear now that he is going to circulate more in the population in Fort Leavenworth. What happened to that excuse? So I think it remains.
Well, what's the answer to that question?
Well, I don't know. The only logical answer is that this claim that it was being done for his own protection was deceitful, that it was a pretext. Clearly that isn't a concern because Quantico is a much more controllable facility and environment than Fort Leavenworth is, which is much larger. So I think clearly the intent was to do this to Bradley Manning as a warning to future would-be whistleblowers that if you're going to expose government misconduct and deceit, this is what will happen to you, and as a means of breaking him to induce and extract testimony against their real target, which is WikiLeaks and Julian Assange.
And then my last Manning question, and we'll move on to the CIA, is do you have any sense as to whether anybody intends to bring charges against either the Marines or the Pentagon or the government for their violation of Article 13 of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which was clearly violated, or at least there appears to be evidence of its violation as you just described it?
Absolutely. I mean, Manning's counsel has said that notwithstanding this move, and he said he doesn't know how he'll be treated there, he intends to pursue these charges. He's a retired lieutenant colonel who's a veteran of the Iraq War and said he's offended by the violations of the Uniform Code in regards to how Manning was treated, and the Amnesty and UN investigations will continue as well.
All right.
We're talking about bringing in competition and free market solutions.
You're talking about privatizing it. That's not competition. That's adding a profit motive to it. I want to know how a profit motive makes Medicare more efficient. How is a 75-year-old who's obese with high blood pressure going to get insurance?
Now, that was Nicole Sandler, and she was arrested after asking that question. Now, why was a constituent arrested for asking a question at a town hall event with her congressman? That's crazy. Well, Nicole joins me now to help answer that question. Nicole's also the host of the Nicole Sandler Show at radioornot.com. Nicole, great to have you here, and I'm glad you're now.
Thanks, Cenk.
Yes, and I'm glad you're out of prison. I mean, this is crazy. So first, let's talk about how this town hall was structured so people get a sense of what happened.
Well, they called it a town hall meeting, but when I got there, we were given cards to fill out in order to ask our questions. Sorry, to me, a town hall meeting means constituents get to talk with the congressman and ask questions and have back and forth. If I had known it was going to be a lecture, I probably wouldn't have shown up.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I saw the first question that they asked, and of course, I want the audience to understand this because this is important. If you go to a town hall event, you get to ask your congressman questions, but if they pre-screen the questions, you just get the questions that they like. The first question was, how many czars does Obama have and how much does it cost us? I mean, of course they selected that one because they love that question. So it makes a mockery of the whole town hall. So you thought, all right, I'm going to ask a question anyway. Now, look, Nicole, some people might have thought that's rude. You're not listening to your congressman and how he structured the meeting. But why in the world were you arrested?
Good question. When I was right after that clip you played, I was told I would have to leave, and a bouncer kind of guy was called over a Fort Lauderdale police officer who grabbed my arm and escorted me out. And as we were leaving, there was some media around me and asking me questions, and I finally stopped, and the police officer kept grabbing me and pushing me, and so I stopped. I turned around. I had a little flip camera with me, and I said, I want your name and badge number. And he said, fine, and then turned around again. He pushed me again, and at that point I screamed at him and I said, get your hands off of me. I think I said it a few times pretty emphatically, and at that point he said, that's it, you're under arrest. I was like, really? I mean, my boyfriend was there. He said, what are the charges? And he said, trespassing after warning. But I don't know if you've seen the police report. I know, right? I don't know if you've seen the police report, Cenk, but apparently the officer accused me of physically accosting him, said I pushed him repeatedly. The video clearly shows the opposite, right?
Right. No, look, I saw the video. It's not a matter of witnesses. It's on tape. It's just it's not what he said. And the other thing that amazes me is it took about 30 seconds or less for them to come get you. It's not like you were up there giving a lecture for 2 minutes or 5 minutes and not letting anyone else speak. I mean, if you can't ask a 20, 30-second question at a town hall event and be arrested for, what was it, trespassing without... After warning. After warning. You've been warned not to ask questions of your congressman. Nicole, why didn't you listen? What did you think, this was a democracy?
Actually, I did, Cenk. You know, I thought it was a democracy, and the fact that I'm arrested for going to a town hall meeting and trying to ask my congressman a question is absolutely absurd. I've heard what he wants to say. I want my congressman to listen to what I have to say, and that's why I went.
And by the way, did he ever answer your question? Because your question was actually excellent. It was about privatizing Medicare, and that's the real question here. How is that going to affect things? And did he ever give an answer, or since you weren't fawning over him, he doesn't answer those questions?
That's it, I guess. And in fact, I wasn't there, so I don't know if he answered it. But from the other people who were there, they've told me no, of course not. He just went on with his talking points.
Nicole, one other thing. In jail, what did they do? They put you in a cell by yourself, and then you apparently got maced. Why'd you get maced? Yes,
because I dared to challenge the guard, the Broward County Police Department or Broward County Jail guard, who he put a bunch of us in a room and they forgot about us for over an hour and left us in this sort of storage room. And when we got out, I told him he owed us an apology, and he got all sarcastic. And I said, we're human beings and we deserve an apology. So he put me in solitary confinement, which plays real weird tricks with your mind. When I finally, he asked to be out when they brought lunch. He told me no, but then the door to the cell opened, so I stepped out, sat down on the step right in front of it, and he saw me and started yelling at me to get back in the cell. And I said, please, sir, please let me just stay out here. And he said, are you disregarding my order? And I said, well, please just let me stay out here. And he sprayed mace, I mean, like a lot of mace in my eyes, my mouth, my face, my hair, to the point where they evacuated the whole ward of all the women that were in there because they were, their eyes were burning from it.
Well, Nicole, you should have known not to challenge President Mubarak like that. I mean, Congressman
I'm sorry,
West.
I thought this was America. I thought we were in America. I thought this is what we're supposed to do, right? Democracy is a two-way street.
Exactly. By the way, so the audience knows, eventually Allan West said that if you support Medicare the way it is now, that it will mean the end of America. You can kiss it goodbye. That means he's simply admitting absolutely that he does not believe in Medicare as it is now. But Nicole, thank you for joining us and sharing your story with us. An amazing story. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cenk. I appreciate it.
All right. Now.